Yeah, so that's also
So you still
It's super weird.
Like you still have to time it perfectly.
Yeah. So I don't know what happens before you press it, but
We got to do that next time.
yeah, we'll test it out.
Like 2
but,
minutes before.
Hello everyone. Give quick introductions to the oneleif stream. Well, I mean, pretty much the introductions are who's here. I'm Zach.
I'm Parshav.
Work on the names, voices, and we got Sabian on Discord over.
Oh, sorry, I was listening on YouTube and the voices were overlapping. I had to pause it. Sorry, I was losing my mind.
Oh, no problem. Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Good. All right, awesome. So we just wanted to give some quick reminders. If you've joined and you're watching this, or you're trying to join, we'll share the invite. But once you join, you'll be put in the start channel, and you'll need to read the rules. There's quite a bit of them, but these are really just what the channels are for and what their purpose is, and kind of some new members what to do. Really, you just need to make an introduction. We have some project owners that might want to pull you on a project, or bug you about their project and see if you're interested. And they do that through seeing the introduction channel, but also it's just a great way to find other people that you might want to talk with or work on a project with.
Side note for clarification, they're 99% open source projects.
Yeah, it's
just felt like making that clarification.
All open source. But then, you put your name in the parentheses because, obviously we'll have access to each other's GitHubs because that's what we use to share our code, but then we can get to know each other more at a professional level. Then after that, you can go to interests, and these will have kind of what you want to follow, and these will unlock your channels right here. So if you're interested in Git, then make sure to hit the little tree.
Are you?
Hello?
Oh, okay. I see the problem. You were like, oh, you gotta go right here, and then I didn't realize you had Discord open because I paused the YouTube stream. My bad.
No problem. Then after that, just look at, the same rules at the very top what these are for, but hatchlings are someone that's just come in and kind of exploring, not really dedicated to anything. What is this one? The bug. Oh yeah, what do we call it? I forget now.
The caterpillar.
Yeah, the caterpillar. Oh yeah, okay, it's a bug on here.
Yeah.
The caterpillar is really for people that are learning, so anyone going to school for any degree or anything like that, or just trying to grasp on what a developer is or a designer or anything like that. Kind of just general, someone interested in learning, not really in the professional field yet. After that, we have the designer or UX, music, 2D or 3D graphics, any visual kind of medium. And then we have finally like the professional developer, or pretty much kind of that. After you do that and make an introduction, you'll be made a full member, and then you'll have access to most of these channels. So that's just the quick reminder and introduction. Let's move on to, or do you guys have anything else for that? And just kind of speed through that since we try to touch on it a little bit, but.
No, I think our viewers are smart enough to be able to read. I hope.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Shade. All right. So we got oneleif updates. Oh, these were kind of just general. Did you guys have any off the top of your head other than that?
There actually hasn't been a whole lot of discussion on like new direction and whatnot, so I don't have any off the top of my head yet.
Yeah,
for this week at least.
I guess we'll just move kind of to the direction channel, because I know I had one thing in there that we kind of have to work more on. We really need to get the vision for kind of oneleif described. Like, we can all kind of say it, but
we need it like in proper wording.
Yeah. So if someone joins and they're like, just here's that oneleif is this cool tech group, and that's all, and they join just based off of that, do they actually know what we do and what we're here, and all that, or what resources we have or anything like that? So if we have that, because you get in the start channel and it's kind of just like, oh, all right, cool, I'll do this, but then I just gave you that little introduction and reminder. That's it. So
how do we improve that?
I really
that's
we have to just put it in a channel and have it sit there, but I would really like the website to fill that gap. where
Agreed.
right now.
Good point.
I'd rather funnel people through the website. That way, they kind of get a better feel for what we're supposed to do, I guess. Rather than us saying what is going on but not covering everything, I guess.
True.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I myself, I do a lot of recruiting, but I find myself forgetting, to bring up something. They're like, oh, hey, like, do you guys, I know you do projects, but are they open source or what? And like, oh, yeah, I probably should have brought that up.
Yeah, well, I kind of lead with that, but all right, that's another topic.
I think the only other update would be the Extra Life event we're going to do, possibly.
Yeah.
As usual.
Yeah.
November 9th, we're doing hopefully, I think, is our group doing a different stream, or are we part of the same CRI stream?
No.
Considering they're our partners. So
No, we're not. We're not going to do it at the same time as them.
Cool.
We're going to do it over a range, because we have people in different time zones, so, like, we're going to do kind of at least 2-day. Kind of gaming
I was thinking it's one day
session, so maybe like we'll just do a weekend.
That makes it
Saturday,
much better.
Sunday.
Oh wait, we should hang out that time. Like we should actually do the LAN thing we were talking about. Maybe.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
I'll set up my Ethernet switch for you boys.
That'd be awesome. So we're gonna do a gaming session that weekend for raising money for our local children's hospital.
Yep, and if you sign up and join the team, you can pick your own hospital to donate for, and whoever donates to you donates to that hospital. But if you don't want to sign up, feel free to just donate to anyone on the team, and it will help at least one hospital. So
we're planning to stream most to all that event, even the oneleif one.
Yep, so we'll be
That'll
up
be
at
fun.
odd hours playing games.
Oh,
getting
another
messages, so make sure you put do not disturb on for that night if you don't want to be bugged.
Not today, guys. Were you saying something?
Yeah, what were you saying?
I'll put it in the Discord.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So other than that, I don't think there's really much oneleif updates except for the stuff below. So for the direction channel, we hit that. I'd just like to make a reminder of the direction channel too, that if you're new or if you think of any improvement that we can do, or even if you're not new, I'm just letting you know this is the channel that anyone can post anything, and we will bring it up at every single meeting and discuss the ideas brought forward and see if we should implement them and how we should work them for how we work. So make sure that if you have any suggestions, please put them in there. We'd love to hear your opinion and we'd love to discuss it. So active projects, scroll down. So we have 2 main ones right now. Sabian, do you want to take it off for the website? You got anything for that?
Yeah, so we actually finally finished up the API as well as the documentation for all of the data types that should be necessary for a page. So now it's just actually doing the work. So I believe we could get other people that have been interested on it now that we're not waiting for that to be done.
Nice.
Yeah, so to talk about the API side of it, I did quite a bit of work recently on it to get it up to almost MVP of like even feasible, like to have the functionality there, so it's not like close to MVP, but it has the features that we kind of want. So it has register and log in, and then you have a log out call. I added a profile update, and there's kind of like a social object that has GitHub and your username and first name and all that stuff. So that's kind of what you like update. And then other than that, it's just posts. There's a CRUD for post, and a post is kind of just any announcement or anything. So you could have it about a project, or you could have it about a little app that you're working on, or something you learned about, or a blog, or it's just really generic kind of like little snippet of an article or something. Other than that, there's at least a work in progress or an attempt at a image upload and an image download, so you guys on the front end can let me know if that's working or not. But I can test it in Postman and that stuff, because I get the data back and it's fine, but when I convert it, I don't trust online converters. And it's just kind of weird to.
I think the consuming framework would.
I would feel more comfortable making just iOS little app to
Yeah,
test it because then it's like the same. But yeah, we'll see. I don't really worry about it too much. But yeah, so that's kind of what we have right now. So I would love to start ramping up some front end development, especially on the React side, and if we can start getting any Android or iOS projects, I mean, I would like both, but I'm really interested if we can do SwiftUI and Jetpack Compose. That was looking pretty good, especially with the release.
That'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, no, so we'll see if anyone's interested in that. We'll probably take a vote and see how many people are interested in the Android and iOS. But that's that for the website. Anything else, Sabian? Or?
No, I think we're good. We just gotta start coding, and then once it's up and running, we can start pitching people to upload blogs.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Nice.
So moving on, we got another active project. Is C-Core. It's just getting quite a bit of members on it. There's quite a bit of. I'd say this is one of the most active channels. Well, of course, it's an active project, but yeah, no, I mean, what you got more to say on it, Sabian? It's really
C-Core
just
specifically?
assembling, right?
Yeah, C-Core.
Yeah, I still feel like it's still kind of in the aggregation stage of finding all the members necessary, but remembering his name off the top of my head. Hyperion, there we go.
Yeah.
He's been doing a good job of trying to get people, wrangling people to do what they need to do to get things done.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to meet when we do. I don't know when, but I would love to come to that first meeting. But, pause for any chat. Anything else about C-Core other than people should join it and check it out?
I just think it's a really great project because it allows you to bring in all the things that you like about whatever language you like, and at least have it up for debate, I guess.
Yeah.
So like if you like the way like whatever language used in the day-to-day does things, then you can
see,
propose.
I like Objective-C, how it has the square brackets for the functions. That's really cool and unique. So see if I pitch that.
You can't do that in C-Core, huh?
Oh,
thankfully, it's C# based, and I really like the syntax of it, so I don't have much problem with the syntax. It's more of the semantics of how things are done.
Yeah, no. Alright, anything else?
It's a cool project.
OLGo is the iOS app or the Android app, so once we get more people, we can kind of start that up again or just restart it. But yeah, like I said, it's ready like the website to be started, so we'll see. I'll probably do some SwiftUI and check it out later.
What's the itch game jam that's up there?
So that itch game jam, I don't know, did that pass or?
We talked about it and then never did anything with it because then we started a bunch of other projects.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
maybe we just do a little oneleif game jam.
We'd love to do a little game jam or something like that to get some interest or just get some experience on a basic, little game. But yeah, no, we'll probably remove this channel and we'll probably bring it up in direction that we should do a oneleif game jam.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, no, I like that. So we'll work on that. All right, cool. So we got our first little off-topic discussion, and it's the Google Dev Summit.
Yeah, boys.
All right.
Did you watch the whole thing, Parshev?
I watched the keynote, most of it. Like the summit is like a 2-day conference with multiple talks in it, based on topics. So, like I'm saving for it. It finished today, so like I'll probably take the weekend or like over the weekend, like actually watch some of the like topics that I'm interested in. And the keynote was great. I can say like more than anything, the best and coolest thing that came out was by far like Jetpack Compose, at least a version that you can mess around with it. And for what it is, Jetpack Compose is a declarative UI framework for building UIs on Android now, which is great. So it originally they showed it off way back in May as like this, we're building this is how it looks like, it looks awesome. And so in that meantime, we got like major Flutter upgrades, we got SwiftUI coming out, and the whole time people on the Kotlin Slack channel were like, yo guys, what are you guys doing? How is it looking? I mean, those developers who were working on Compose were still like in the Slack group, so they're also responding like, we're making cool updates, we're doing this. But what they came out with was honestly more than what I personally had expected to come out. Like their preview was like pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The semantics that they had for writing the UI was actually much different than what I thought it would be in terms of like their modifiers, especially. Like it was definitely much different than what originally was planned. So they definitely made some changes over the last couple of months, basically, I think by hidden trial or something. And yeah, if you open up the website, probably you can get a better look at how it looks like. Jetpack Compose and specific. They have their own page now finally. Like it was just a pretty dumb documentation page before.
Let's check it out.
Yep, it's right there. Damn, they actually made a pretty good website out of it. Sweet.
That's updating fast.
Jetpack Compose Basics. So yeah,
let's check it out. So yeah, they have the set content.
So
it looks a lot like SwiftUI.
It will, of course. So like Flutter, SwiftUI, and now Jetpack Compose are all declarative frameworks. So at some level, they will always look the same. If you pull out React code, it'll look pretty similar as well. So if you actually scroll up a bit to the set content UI, the funny thing is like they've actually modified like really simple like Android things to work with Compose. The idea is that like once this comes out, even now I could probably run this on like a phone that's like a 2006 phone because this is technically still backwards compatible. So set content, you like before take a layout and pass a parameter to it, but now they're adding like DSL structures for you to make the views in code, which is basically all that it does. So yeah, it's pretty cool. You can add previews with the annotation. Composable just tags a function to compose and compose. That was a lot of compose words, but that's basically what it does.
This seems like quite a bit.
Yep, you could have functions that are non-composable. That's why.
Oh, okay.
So it is pretty awesome. I like that they actually did the good preview thingy that SwiftUI had out of all things. Like Kotlin's had the DSL syntax for the longest time, which has been great. But like the one thing I was worried about for like Jetpack Compose was that preview. Like, how could they match something that SwiftUI does? Because like SwiftUI's preview is like amazing, and so their preview is arguably actually really great. It does do the different kind of previews, and you can add like different themes to previews and stuff, which is pretty awesome. So that's like one thing that I really was proud about for what Compose came out with.
Whoa.
So yeah, Jetpack Compose.
Those are the modifiers, or?
Yeah, that's some of the modifiers that are up there. So they have this plus syntax, by the way, that you'll see, and right now they say it's for state changes. Like, so in like Flutter you have a stateful statelet widget, and SwiftUI you have a state annotation. So these guys are using the plus right now, but we know that it's gonna change over time. They've already told us this, which I would totally support. Probably not the best way to write a state changing variable. And so considering that this is all, and I haven't tried this yet, but because this is all just Kotlin DSL, which is built up from the ground up in Kotlin, you'd be able to write in your own code as well, like native code inside of there without having it to mess up like the rest of your DSL structure, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, see, I don't really mind this. This is pretty nice. It makes sense.
Like they've done some really great things with the DPs and pixels as well, which has been pretty hard in like just generic Android, like managing pixels and DPs. You end up writing your own extensions each time because it's just nobody has them for some reason. So this is like a huge jump, honestly, a great jump, because writing XML files for UIs is nice, but it's better to just do the same hierarchical coding or hierarchical coding and just like Kotlin code if you're already.
Did you just say writing XML is nice?
It's nice. I mean, it's nice in terms of like it's better than writing like have you ever seen like Maven repository files? They're pretty messy, like XML files. XML and Android files are actually cleaned up a bit better, so it's easy to understand hierarchy. Like that's the reason they chose XML, because when writing views, it's just a hierarchy view, and XML kind of does that fine. And at the time they made it, like it was easy to parse. It was quicker to parse than other file formats. But then now we're coming into a point where it's like, do we really need to segregate views and code when you're binding views to code? So moving away from XML is a really good step. Although I know a lot of people are like against this still, but I think it's a correct direction. I think it's a great way to go.
Yeah, this is interesting because it's like kind of the opposite of SwiftUI.
In what way? Oh, like modifiers wise?
Yeah.
That's what I think they changed that over time. So they actually had the feedback from developers, and some of the developers were saying like, hey, like this, what would this result in this, and this is kind of confusing now. And so that's where like out of nowhere one of the guys was like, hey, we're gonna change the modifiers and it's gonna look like this now. That came out like 2 months ago. I remember reading that, and they actually stuck with that for most of the modifiers.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I'm kind of excited to see what more people make, but yeah.
Nice.
That was a good outcome from Dev Summit right now.
Alright, is there anything else that...
I will say I didn't post a link yet. I hope maybe we could pull it up and post it, but the only other thing from Dev Summit, and I haven't seen the rest of the talks, but they have like this cool challenge. Maybe we can work on it. So they came out with this challenge for Android, which is like, and the dates go up until like February, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying that they'll have a challenge for you to make an Android app that uses on-device machine learning, basically. So their question is like, how can you make an app that you like best utilizes on-device machine learning? And that's their basically challenge. So like you have to make an app, put it up on the store, and then just submit it to Google then. So that's her thing, and it seems pretty interesting, honestly. Like on-device machine learning is like a tougher task if you think about it, because like what are you gonna do? Because there's a lot of things already out there. So they've done this small challenge kind of thing for a little bit of awareness and whatnot. So that was another nice thing they brought out. It was like the end of their keynote. I'll post a link on it on the Discord later. But yeah, that's the other thing. But the other stuff was just heavy technical Android stuff, Android updates.
Interesting. No, that's cool. I like that challenge. No, I have a few ideas, but I'm not gonna say them on stream, obviously, because I have to make them.
Close the stream. Like we're shutting down, guys. But let's see. We'll see what else they do over time. But
awesome.
The only other thing is definitely they're going Kotlin heavy, by the way.
I heard it was mainly or all Kotlin.
Like, it's been
there's maybe a few Java or like.
So ever since Kotlin came out, even like they've been pushing Kotlin heavy. Over the last like 2 year, maybe they've been like I was at the last summit, so they're pushing Kotlin even heavier, saying like they're explaining over like last year they said, hey, all of our documentation is gonna be in Kotlin by default, so you have to switch it to Java instead, stuff like that. And last year also they announced that they'll start developing new APIs in Kotlin. So this time they're just all in going for Kotlin. Like most of the times they're not even giving examples in Java anymore. Not only in documentation, I mean like on stage and whatnot. But we're not saying like bye to Java. It's more like embrace Kotlin. You can still use Java because it's interoperable. But
okay.
Pretty nice.
Interesting.
Pretty nice.
Okay, cool. We have basic UX and UI tips.
That's a good one.
We can chit chat about this. I guess to intro to this, in college, one of my favorite classes was HCI, or Human Computer Interaction.
Nice.
And that was a really good class talking about the whole aesthetic of things, but then also the usability and understanding of a user with it. You have to understand that if you use colors in your app or software or game, well, not everyone sees colors the same, so you either have to like account for them, or if you don't, I mean, it's really not the best way to go. It's a tough battle, because some people I think will cut it out and say like, okay, most people aren't colorblind, I'm gonna go with these colors or that stuff, and they don't really think it.
Okay.
But it like that's one like just basic thing is like colors is really tough. Also, maybe blue means something different to you than it means to me. Like maybe you think it means an action, and I think it means, like I don't know, a notification, or like a system.
Like people perceive it differently.
Yeah, people perceive colors differently also, but. Like for something, let's talk about a form. If you have a basic form like login or anything like that, and you don't have any error handling, you just need that's another example of you got to make sure that you have to explain it right. Like if they keep typing in and keep seeing that error, or if you don't even have an error and they mess up once, you have to help them. And so it's just kind of thinking of that. But the whole point of good UX and UI is to really have the users never see those and never have those experiences. So first think of what errors or what kind of other perspectives would be applied on your kind of UX or anything, like if it's buttons or if it's where the cancel button is. It's really small like that for any UX and UI stuff, especially like basic of that. But I mean, if you just think cancel button, where do we put it? Top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right? Is there an OK at the bottom with the cancel button? Does that mean the cancel is on the left, or is it on the right? Because OK is like,
oh yeah, people are inclined to go
all this stuff for one button. So to think that a cancel button is that important of where do I put it or that stuff, of course you're going to put it at the top left or bottom right or wherever. because it's normally there, but how do you know that? And how do you establish that kind of user experience that is kind of far-reaching of, you know, a ton of examples? Like, oh wait, this one's on the far right. So everything I said was wrong in Windows, but in Mac, it's on the left. So I don't know. And I'm not an expert in it, but it's all this stuff that you have to think of at least. And once you've thought of it, like, then at least you can understand it, or you're aware of it. If you're not, and you just keep making something one way, that's it. It's just made one way.
That's true.
And this can kind of really be applied to any type of software. It can look pretty and everything, but really, if you're gonna test it or try to QA or get some beta, like, really understand that people that are beta testing it might not know anything, or they might almost be at the same level as you, which then that test is unfair. You really have to go into anything you're doing, playing a game, trying out your software, or putting an input into your little script. Like, you really have to try to break it at some point and to, like, understand the limits.
That was one of the things I had to learn for game development, is when people test my game, I would tell them too much about the game, and then if I had somebody else test it, you know, and I wasn't there to hold their hand through it, I'd completely miss something, and they'd be like, well, how am I supposed to get to the menu? You don't tell me, like, how to access it or whatever.
And it's also the thing of, I always think of Nintendo as one of the best user experience companies, like, for games. Their Super Mario games, you can play them at two polar ends of the spectrum. Like a child could play and just run the whole time and barely jump and never sprint.
Yeah.
And then you can have speedrunners that are doing glitches and pixel perfect. It's just the ceiling goes so high, and it's, you know, a very wide or spectrum, very tall, very, very big spectrum of players.
But they can both still have fun because they can still complete the game.
Yep.
Yeah, but who are you developing for at that point? You have to understand, we have to have this as basic as it can be, that someone that's never played a game can play this and love it and get through the whole thing and have fun. And someone that knows all the mechanics and knows all this can challenge the heck out of themselves to try to get better and have the rage quit moments for that. Like, how do you have that two different spectrums of pretty much a baby can play it, and, you know, someone that's a pro gamer can play it and get mad at it?
That's a good point.
It's really different because, I mean, one, the baby's winning the game. Where's my phone? Oh, sorry.
No, that's a good point, though. I think that touches on, like, a few, like, really, really core concepts that people maybe experience day to day even. That actually touches on, like, this cool thing that I was listening to or, like, watching a talk on about at a WWDC event. So, like, this might have been this year's WWDC event out of all times. So I was listening to this talk, and the guy was basically saying, like, when you're basically developing code, let's say you're making an app that, like, talks to an API 101 basic stuff. Like, there are going to be people who have fast internet and people who have slow internet, and people forget about people who have slow internet, right? So this guy's point was pretty simple. It was like, if you develop for people who have, like, the slower internet, then the app is automatically, like, super efficient in any case possible. Like, it's already the best case it'll ever be. Like, you don't have to worry about anything. As long as you just realize that, or if you think about it, you're developing it for, like, the worst case.
It's just cutting corners.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and you can even apply that to, like, other areas where it's like, don't think about the most complex thing. Try to go for the most, like, basic approach, and then keep building on it.
Well, another thing is, I mean, once you're developing something, if you have a bug, or if you have, you know, like, a little something where, oh, it happens, you know, 95% of the time, or, you know, it doesn't happen 95% of the time is what I mean. And it's like that 5% where it's rare and it's like, oh, it's an edge case. Well, those get magnified in productions or even in beta, and they might be an underlying issue that you've not found. And it's really kind of polishing off those edges and not trying to cut them and try to get the MVP as quick as you can, because it's going to suffer any addition you give it.
I think one more thing to touch on this UI UX tips thing, which is pretty cool, is like, I think this touches on something that's very core, is like things that people are already accustomed to, is that what they expect. And then when something out of the blue happens, then it is something they don't expect, so they might get, like, when they have that, like, that split second hesitation, you might just be like, you go away, right? Like when you download an app from the store if the first thing you see is an ad or a second thing or it's like the loading screen's too long, you're already gonna uninstall it. Like people make that decision like super quickly nowadays.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of this thing of like, you know, if I've been using even macro language for like a while now, and then I switch to a Windows machine, and I see the cross button on the right side, it like bothers me a bit because it's like, why do I have to close on the right side? Like this just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It usually does.
Yeah, no.
Which is pretty core. And yeah.
Yeah, no, those are good points.
That's a cool topic though.
There's another last topic I'd talk about for like UI. Well, one more thing for me is I forget the name of it, but it was in the book that Susie posted a while ago. Don Norman book, but I forget. She's gonna yell at me later. But it's pretty much no, I remember. It's an affordance. So
you're saying
I remember it. It's an affordance. So what an affordance is this affords to close this.
Okay.
So for me to understand that right now, it's kind of hidden because it's just an X and it's not red and kind of gets a little bit more apparent. But the affordance means like I can understand and reference or like truly understand what that function does or perceive it. And
I see.
so these are more drawn out of standards, right? Like, so just because something's a standard doesn't mean it's a good affordance or anything. Better affordances are these like, that's a pin. It's a pinned message that makes sense. And this is like, these are two people, members. Okay. Or like an ad, I don't know. But at least you know, like, you can click those, or, you know, that's the whole thing of that is, can you click that, or is that usable? So to use that for any, like, label or anything in your thing that might be clickable or something like that, the more important part is that you might have done, like, a hidden affordance where the user doesn't know what that thing does. They don't know it's clickable, and they will never interact with it.
That's a good point.
And it's, you know, kind of a non-issue. Everything works. You might have no bugs. It might be a production level app, but if the user can't even click on what they need to click on, well, I mean, regardless if it's a puzzle or if it's, you know, logging in, it's kind of, you know, you have to use it in both ways of, regardless of who it is, they need to understand, you know, this is clickable, this is what this does, and you don't need a paragraph by it to explain it. If you do, then you have a problem. And then you're trying to cover up with the whole problem that Don Norman explains in the book of the doors, of, you know, push and pull. Like, why do they have to put push and pull on it?
Yeah.
If you design a door right, you don't need a sign on it.
Yeah.
You can know if it's a push or if it's a pull.
Which you can see on those bar ones as well. Now.
Yeah, but you know, there's how many bar ones that is, it's a push.
Or like you do it and then it's like, never mind, it's a pull.
Yeah.
Whoops.
And it's just weird. So that's like the most basic example of like UX and that. Anything else, Sabian, for that topic?
Yeah, so design and aesthetics have not been a skill that I have put a lot of effort into. Well, up until recent, I guess.
I just did that.
And I recently, and by recently I mean in the last like 6 months ish, have come to the realization that design is not something that I'm going to be able to just ignore. And it's a skill just like development. Like, you can't write a good app that has a quality design that's dynamic and whatnot without first just brute forcing it and understanding how it works. So that's one of the biggest things that I've come to find with design, is that I can't even fathom how to come up with a good design without practicing making something small, like making a button that people are that they intuitively understand how to interact with it and why you interact with it that way. So Susie made the recommendation that I should, rather than try and pick my own colors and whatnot, look at color palettes. So the point that I'm trying to make here is, don't feel like you need to inherently understand that things are designed a certain way right off the bat.
Wow.
Start looking at how other people that are renowned for being good at design, like Apple and Nintendo, do things, and understand why they do them at a core level. And then you can, and then and only then can you develop something that is designed well.
Yeah, I mean, you can just see the kind of color palettes they come up with is just perfect. And if you just want to use a color palette per like per model or something, it limits you. But then you can also potentially, add more or combine color palettes. It's a little tough to combine, them perfectly, but you can definitely find some that are like relatable.
Wow.
And like beyond the color palette thing, it's you have to almost understand why the color palette exists the way it does. Like I had never known that like looking into contrasting colors was even like something that I'd have to consider in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm. So another thing that I've definitely dived into is the human interface guidelines for iOS specifically, but I've also dove into the material guidelines of kind of the similar structure. I don't know if this is actually the one that I was in, but
They have updated the website, by the way, so could be.
it might. I'm just trying to look for the same kind of things. Like an example, I guess, is just kind of color or that stuff. But there's so many views and that stuff. But these views are kind of reusable through any platform. If you go to the website, there's text views. Yeah. So I mean, just adding text or something like that, or something basic, just kind of understanding, well, I mean, anything with text, it needs to kind of be dynamic size for ADA compliance and voiceover and all of that. So, I mean, already with that, like, if you have anything like that and you don't really have that, or like, UI scaling or anything like that, I mean, that's something to think about. But there's a lot of resources to go in, and really any design resource that you find can be applied to anything. So even if I was in the material design, I could still get something out that I could apply on iOS, even though it's not direct. I mean, it's still a good design, except for the X button on the right.
Oh, that's Windows.
but yeah, it's definitely getting used to something in preference. But I don't think we have anything else except for if we want to talk a little bit about the potential recruiters coming into oneleif. I'll bring forth my kind of initial pitch for it. oneleif's kind of trying to do partnerships with companies, so we're doing at least a pilot right now, and we're trying to get everything kind of settled and agreed on. But we want or would like to at least have some recruiters from a company be a part of the Discord. Either have a specific rank for their company, so that they work for this company and it's they're official. And they're not just, some random person that's faking or anything, but they would actually be real recruiters that might have a job that they might post in a recruiter's channel. Or, you can just message them and ask them questions, or they could review your resume, or you can get tips on a job that you're looking for. It's just kind of that potential aspect. So it's
all about getting a different mindset into oneleif, because we're coming from the developer side, whereas they may have a completely different view on what things they're looking for.
Yeah, totally. So it'll be kind of cool to get these guys in the group and have some good interaction, some high level professional interaction actually with the rest of the gang.
Yeah. So I don't know what the whole partnership entails.
Yeah.
But in the most basic aspect of what it ideally entails, regardless of the company or whoever the partner is that the partner will bring us open source projects that we can work on and let us use their name as like a professional level. Hey, we are working for them and we have people working for them, so we kind of get that referral or the resume boost of we worked specifically for this company on a few projects. But then also, recruiters for potential jobs or just questions of that and connections. Because you can connect with a recruiter, but it's not like getting spammed on LinkedIn. It's kind of, they're open for questions about, hey, how can I improve my resume or anything like that. There's still the whole idea of the recruiters coming in or anything like that would still be they're voluntarily coming in from the company, and they just kind of like the atmosphere. It's not like they're forced on the job, so it's more of they're just a member of oneleif that is a recruiter. So that's kind of the whole sum of that. I'm not going to talk too much about that because we're still trying to roll that out. But if you see a recruiter channel in and some official, named, ranked people for a specific company come in, then just know that they are actually from that company, and you can message them during their job if they'll reply on Discord or anything like that. But they are actually a recruiter for that company and not a rank that someone can just be. Don't think we have much to talk about there. Is there any other topic that you would like to discuss, or would we like to tail it off? I don't think we have any questions in chat, so...
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in the YouTube chat or in the Discord channel.
Right.
I can bring up, I remember... Man, that was a pretty loud one. That was pretty loud.
Beer number 2.
That was pretty loud.
If anyone's interested, I'll just, let the people know what we're drinking. We got a Space Camper, and it's a Cosmic IPA from Boulevard.
Dude, this tastes great, by the way.
It's pretty good. No, it's a little, like I said... It's a 5.9. It's a little weak,
great.
But no, it's good. It's good.
Tastes great. So 3 times, but I'm like, dude, tastes great.
I'm just waiting for somebody to put a comment in there. 5.9, it's a little weak. I'm over here drinking Bud Light.
What's Bud Light at?
Like 4.2?
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Anywho. Did you guys see the quantum computing update from Google?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Dang, that is some...
That's crazy.
Sick stuff. I think in the video they showed that stack of that stat of it'll take 10,000 years to do an operation that the quantum computer would do in 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, what? That's actually insane, dude.
Yeah, no.
That puts a lot of things in perspective.
It's cool to see that they're finally coming out or finding things that quantum computers are actually useful for. Yeah. It's kind of like I was reading a Reddit post on it, and basically they were talking about how the process of things becoming a consumer product, how they start out with almost always a military or...
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, the process is it starts out in research development, and then it goes into military use, and then it goes into consumer use, and then at some point it becomes massively produced enough that anybody can get a hold of it.
Yeah, that's true. I like how those things are kind of changing over time in that sense. We have a private company doing this now. We'll see what they do later on and whatnot. But that quantum computer is a huge. Whoa, really? Anyways, quantum computer is a huge jump in this field. Honestly, wasn't we've been hearing about it I've been hearing about it ever since being a kid, honestly, just the idea. But it actually it was funny because they showed the how it looked like in one the whole machine, right, kind of how it worked. And it's funny because you think that computers back in the 70s and 60s were as big as that maybe, or even maybe smaller than what they're showing. But it's funny that maybe in 20-30 years from now that'd computers would be small as hell. PCs would be quantum computers. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, no.
So we're seeing
quantum computer mobile phones.
Dude, maybe that'd be pretty dope. I don't know what they do, but that'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, you just hackers use it so that they can just walk up to a mainframe and just hack it in 2 seconds.
It'd be weird if
that's the thing.
Reverse happens, or the quantum computers get so small and that stuff where they can just be cores on a CPU.
Hell yeah.
And then we just have the normal computers.
with the quantum computers, still have the box.
It's wait, does that that doesn't even work? No.
But that's actually a good. This is a known fact that 99% of the security implementation that we have right now that's recognized by the government is actually all it's not quantum compatible. There's I know of one there's one security encryption format that's compatible.
That was the whole thing that they're saying that 99% of the stuff.
Yeah, well, things can break easily. Quantum computers can break.
Apparently, the government has been working on quantum encryptions that aren't or basically encryption algorithms that aren't easily broken by quantum computers.
Yeah, I read about.
Apparently, this has been in the work for decades.
Yeah, there was one they taught us in class that we were reading about it, but read about it a bit. So I obviously don't understand how it works, but it's nice to know that they actually have concepts that are foolproof in quantum computing world as well. So
yeah,
pretty cool. Pretty nice stuff. Apart from that though, there was also Firefox updates pretty frequently, honestly. That's they update maybe once a month anyways. But they came
Their latest update has some amazing developer tools.
Yeah, so you heard... Oh, I don't know about the developer tools, but...
Yeah, you know how you can do Control-Shift-I or whatever to inspect pages and whatnot?
Yeah.
They added in... I don't remember what it was. I remember reading about it. But yeah, Firefox 70 is supposed to have some awesome
WebSockets.
tools.
They added in WebSockets.
That's what it was.
They added in a WebSocket. They added in a WebSocket.
Google Chrome already had WebSockets, but
yeah,
whatever.
It's nice that like Firefox got it. But what's cool is like so with their latest upgrade, so they're showing this off specifically for Mac. Is that I think they started using some like native Mac OS components, and they were saying like their wattage usage on Mac OS went 70% lower in this version.
That's
so they're
crazy.
showing, yeah, they're literally showing the graphs of like here's the usage on YouTube if you're using Firefox on 69 versus 70, and holy crap, that drop of graph was insane.
That's crazy.
Only because they were using like native components, and they're showing this like they're showing like visuals of like here you could see like the whole screen like redrawing because of like native component or like just not using native components, and then they showed like here not only like the top bar redraws or something, like the whole screen doesn't have to re-render each time or on each frame and whatnot.
That's really
very interesting stuff. Yeah, so it was pretty nice to see them upgrade that. Like the 70% wattage decrease. Dang, that's pretty awesome.
No,
so.
that's crazy.
Impressive. But
I felt like Firefox alone was already pretty quick and efficient. But
it is. I remember. I don't know which version, but I think when they started, I don't know if they brought in like the Rust engine in Firefox yet, but basically when they started using a codename Quantum in Firefox, that was like a quick upgrade. Like I was using Chrome for a bit again just because Chrome was way faster, but Firefox is like primary browser is just so fast right now.
Yeah, I use Safari.
That's nice.
I'm sorry.
It's nice.
I can't switch over.
I would prefer Safari over Chrome one because of RAM usage.
Yeah.
Like Safari's still lightweight.
I'll have to compare Safari and Firefox.
Chrome just eats by resources, man.
Yeah. So like there's a web dev in my team. I was talking with him a bit because Firefox came out with like their own cloud password tool as well recently. So we were chatting a bit, and he said he still uses Chrome a bit for development only. So he was saying that like he uses Firefox personally, but Chrome has like better development tools still.
Yeah, their dev tools are awesome, but I think with the most recent patch, the gap is probably a decent bit closed.
Potentially, that's nice to see as well. So, but yeah, I wasn't aware that was a change as well. But
nice.
Pretty cool. Man, by the way, did you guys see like the OpenAI video that was on Reddit the other day?
No.
Dude, I'm not gonna show it because it's like 5 minutes maybe. It's like 5 minutes long, but TLDR or TLDW, right?
Whoa.
You don't watch that, so it's like DW. Dude, this stuff's good. It's like shout out to the same IPA again. Shout it out again, whatever it's called.
Shout out the Cosmic IPA.
Yeah, that's what it was. Nice stuff. So the OpenAI video, like, so this guy, man, whoever's narrating the video also was really awesome. They run simulations and like train models basically, right? So and for the video, like they have these cool like cartoonish characters who are playing hide and seek. So I've seen one of their hide and seek videos that they've done before, but what they did this time was pretty awesome. So like, there's 2v2 hide and seek, and they're showing how over generations, like they have these small courses, like a small room, and they have like doors or something, like openings, and they have cubes, so you have to hide the cubes. So the characters learn to hide the cubes. But in that whole time, there's also this like small stairwell thingy. So after a million generations, the people who are seeking, they find to use that ramp thingy or the stairwell thing and go over the wall. So these are like really basic things, right? So that last video that I saw, I remember watching this like a couple months ago or like last month, was like just that, right? Like the AI learned to use like boxes to hide the doors, and then they learned to use the ramp to go over the wall. Like that's pretty awesome in itself.
Yeah.
But then they went another level on this one, and they were like, dude, the AIs learned to glitch the game. Like they learned to glitch the game on the physics.
Oh,
like they learned that they learned that if you have to move the box, then it's only reading that you're moving, like you're exerting force on the box, but they're not checking to see if you're exerting force from the sides or anything. So the AIs would go on the box using a ramp and then move around the box and then jump over the wall if one of the AIs took the ramp inside or something. It was so insane. Like these guys were glitching the game better than like humans would have probably figured out.
Wow.
And one of them, like one of the seeker was like jumping over the wall with one of the glitches that like I don't even understand the glitch. He was somehow like jumping over the wall. It was like a 101 physics glitch.
That's crazy.
The last exploit.
One, oh my gosh.
So they were talking about it. It was awesome. Like the guy in the video was talking about like, this is what I do for a living. We just get to have fun and make glitches in the game.
See, I would love to make like little tiny simulations of that and start working on like controllers to get that. But oh my gosh, it just takes so long to run them. I need a separate computer to run my simulations for hours and get so many generations. I can't run it on a laptop.
And they're running for, I think they have to be using supercomputers, like multiple of them, because they were talking like millions and billions of simulations. And random outcomes out of it.
Oh yeah, well no, I mean you can't get
Insane.
them doing glitches and that stuff out of 1,000 or even like probably 1,000,000 generations. Like 1,000,000 generations, they'll probably. Well, I mean it depends on
how you seed it.
the model, right? Like the model might be stuck doing a limit. There's limits at some point, and so I mean if you run it for 1,000,000 and there's a limit. You might hit the limit at 100,000 and
possibly
nothing happens,
like
no growth. Or
like at some point they have to add some like variance maybe, and maybe the variance they're adding to this will just like look different or something, or like just don't look at the same spot twice or something.
That's crazy though.
But it was insane, honestly. Like what they were able to show in this was pretty awesome. I was reading some of the Reddit comments that were on the video, and they were saying like, "Will this take out jobs of people who test games and stuff?" And yeah, people were talking about that whole like Black Mirror thing of like, well, what if we don't have any more people left to test like games with these edge game glitches and stuff.
Do you think that's also a topic for like app QA?
Yeah, for sure. Like automation is already a thing, right?
Well, automated, like, yeah.
But then when you have automation in the...
But you think like physics in like game one. Like it's really easy to make a car or like a car racing AI, but like an AI for... So how is that even useful at that point? Because how do you simulate like someone normal?
It's hard for sure. But so like at the DroidCon NYC conference I was at, I learned about something that was called dynamic analysis, which I hadn't heard of much. I heard of static analysis, right? And dynamic analysis, and they're talking from like a security point of view. They're saying like people will do static analysis on their apps because it's easy. Because like you just have to analyze code, and you're like, all right, I'm storing a key over here in the preferences, and then I take it out here. There's nothing they can do in the meantime. The keychain access is here. The pudding is there. It's easy. But people don't do a lot of dynamic analysis while testing their apps, and that's basically saying like attackers will like generally find flaws in the runtime of your app rather than the static point of your app. And people and Google, this is Google included, like they're talking about Google side, right? They're saying like when you upload an app into Google's Play Store, they'll run dynamic analysis of your app to make sure like there's nothing illegal going on, and like they're trying to find flaws and whatnot. And so that's like one part of it. It's like it's not only the side of like finding glitches and stuff. It's like people that find like security holes by like automating stuff that humans would do in ways that humans wouldn't do it anyways, which is weird, but scary stuff, man. Scary stuff. But
well, talking about hiding stuff, I have one little article.
Oh.
It wasn't an IDE, I don't think.
Oh, I saw Linux on Switch. I didn't see that stuff.
Oh, they got Linux on the Switch?
I think Switch, or was
so
it
this is kind of interesting. And it might take me a bit to find it. I think it was an editor. So there is a game on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
That
dang. I know what you're talking
had
about.
an editor.
Oh, after developer.
No, this is not it. It was an actual game though. Okay, yep, it's this one. Yep. Removes game from Switch Shop. A dark room.
That's so good.
No thanks. So who
ported? Here's a video feature in action. Show the video in action.
All right, we're gonna watch this video. It's only a minute long, so we'll full screen this so we can get the full immersion.
Look at that UI, by the way.
Yeah, we're on our Switch now.
It's a great UI, by the way.
Is this how we're gonna stream us playing Smash?
Yeah, here one sec. Let me pull up the dark room really quick. Okay.
Oh
my give it a sec to load. It takes a bit.
The timing is perfect.
I don't know why I'm connecting my controller, but here we go.
This room is cold. The fire is burning.
Oh my god! I have this app on my phone.
What?
Yeah, a dark room. This is the game that Rick wanted to make.
There might be a Python editor.
Yeah.
Try it out.
On the Switch, the port of this had a Python editor in it, so potentially people could mod it.
And Nintendo said no mods are allowed, or?
No, the editor.
Oh, so could you execute code?
Here we go.
Oh my god. What? Can you have that?
So this is a basic editor that doesn't do everything.
So it's not a shell, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, it is an editor.
But obviously, since it was hidden and kind of, it got removed.
Interesting.
That is actually pretty funny.
But yeah. That's too funny.
Alright, that's awesome.
Alright.
Anywho. What do you say?
Anything else, Sabian? You got anything else?
No, actually, man, we almost filled up an hour.
See ya.
Else? Anything?
Else.
That's like optional else. Never mind.
If nothing, end stream. Else, keep going.
Alright. Well, remember to post in direction channel. Alright, well, I'll just sign off.
See ya.
All right, see you,
ya.
boys.
See ya.